Hey. Okay, good. I'm unmuted. Apostolic pants. Yeah, I understand that, and yeah, we're excited to talk about Loki. Okay, let's see. Say something, and say something again.
One more time.
That's better. All right, cool.
All right.
Because I have two desktop audios in my OBS, and so I have to figure out which one's which, for whatever reason. So, all right, cool. Pull up my show notes. And you ready to go?
I'm good.
All right, cool. 5 seconds of silence. And welcome to This Week in MCU, the weekly after show talking all things Marvel Cinematic Universe related. We are back fully in the Marvel Cinematic Universe this week with Loki, Episode 1. I'm Kurt, and with me on this journey, as always, is my good friend Senraven. Hey, how you doing?
Hey, did you get the delivery of paperweights that I sent over to you?
The paperweights. I did. It was weird though because they kind of look like grandma's hard candies.
They were so pretty.
Yeah, they're not as heavy though. You can't
No,
really put a
apparently
lot
not.
of a lot of paper underneath them. We will definitely be talking about that. Any news from around the MCU that you're aware of?
There's a couple of things. We got a art pieces for Doctor Strange multiple madness, multiverse of madness.
Yep.
Um, it looks like we got some casting stuff for She-Hulk. We got a casting for Titania was done,
Oh, is
and
that who it was? It was Titania or Titania or
yeah,
whatever
Jamila Jamil is going to be Titania.
from the Good Place.
Um, yes, from the Good
Right.
Place.
She is awesome.
So,
That's gonna be
so
great.
that's some really interesting casting. I really like that.
I wonder what
Other than
she's
that,
gonna be like all bulked up though, because Titania is like
no,
hefty.
Titania does not need to be. Well, it depends, I guess, what they're running her on. Like Titania for lore can be anything. It's a fae, so but Titania in the comics is that's however they run her.
Well, right. Well, in the comics, and she was the one that was dating the Absorbing Man.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so they were both supervillains, and they got together. I almost want to say they got together during Secret War or something way back when. Um, but um, but she's usually pretty beefy, like, and not fat, but just like big and muscular, almost She-Hulkish. So, but
No,
she is tall.
right.
She's very tall. So, hey, I trust, and I think she'll do great in that role.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that. Apparently Scar is supposed to show up
I
in
saw
She-Hulk.
that. I saw that. I don't know how
So
they're gonna do that. It's gonna be great.
that's I'm like, okay, you guys do you because you've been nailing it. So I'll trust it.
Well, I mean, they kind of. Yeah, it's gonna be like, how is that happening? Because in the comics, Scar comes from Warworld, where the Hulk was sent, and in the MCU, they kind of sent him there in Ragnarok, but he didn't have a relationship as far as anybody knew.
Right.
But
So
he was sitting
yeah,
like a
we'll
king
see.
over there, so who knows?
We'll see how they run that.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Okay, so I guess we jump right in it. I did want to preface this a little bit by saying, man, it seems like they're leaning into this multiverse thing hard.
Oh yeah, yeah. They're
Um,
they're definitely going cosmic.
yeah, and I'm gonna have some questions as we go, I'm sure. but all right, let's just jump into it. Loki episode 1 entitled "Glorious Purpose," which makes perfect sense. Um, We open on a smoldering New York City with the Avengers Tower in the distance, and a date pops up 2012. So this is where they're with Loki, and Cap is walking by going, "Hey, I'm on my way down. I'll coordinate search and rescue."
On my way down, Gordon.
Right. And they show Loki kind of imitating him, and Thor throws
Right. How does that not get tedious?
right, right. And Thor throws the face lock on him, the mouth lock. So and it's all it's pretty much, we see the scene from Endgame where they're taking the case and tell Hulk to take the stairs, which I still, every time I see it, it's just awesome.
He could have just jumped down.
He could have.
It's not like the landing would have hurt him.
And the balcony was right out there.
Right.
He was really close to it.
You could do a superhero landing.
Yeah. So, and this is all recap, right? And it's all kind of like, here's where we're at with Loki. This is the time frame. And the scene, we see the scene where the Tesseract hits the floor in front of Loki, which is as a result of Endgame and it falling out of the case. And really,
we do get the little shot of Ant-Man actually like kicking the kicking the case, and the second Tony picking it up, and
when you think about it, Hulk is actually responsible for this whole variant.
No, Tony's responsible for this whole variant, because how do you not remember that you sent the Hulk down the stairs and try to stare? Like, he goes over to open the door to go up the stairs. You're the one that told him to take the stairs in the first place.
Yeah, fair. So the scene where Tesseract hits the floor in front of Loki, he grabs it and disappears. And then we get the Marvel Studios title, which in this case now is green and gold, because Loki
It looks so good with green and gold.
It really does.
Like, I've seen it twice, and every time I'm like, oh, that is so pretty.
Yeah, it's a really great looking logo. And then we open on the Gobi Desert, and we see a portal open, and something comes out of the portal and hits the ground. I'm pretty sure everybody knew it was Loki, obviously. And the locals find him. And Loki does his Loki thing and says, "I'm Loki from Asgard, and I'm burdened with glorious purpose." And the locals
he even found a rock to stand on.
Right. And the locals are like going, "Who are you?" Because they don't understand English. And then 3 TVA agents show up. Now, I'm only saying this because we probably should have said there's going to be a lot of spoilers. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of spoilers.
Yeah, like, if you guys haven't heard this before, it's definitely a spoiler cast.
Yeah, and it's in the show notes and everything every week. So, so TVA is the Time Variance Authority, which, if you've read comics, you've heard of. They're kind of the keepers of the timeline and make sure that nothing goes out of whack, sort of. So they're in front of the Tesseract, and Loki's going, "Hey, get away from that." And another agent shows, which is the hunter B-15, who is kind of the main hunter that we see throughout this episode anyway. Probably throughout the series, I would think, but we'll see. And they pull out a PDA, and they say, "Standard sequence violation, branches growing." And Loki is on the PDA, and Loki is identified as a variant and arrested. And well,
not before he gets punched in the face for however long that takes to resolve. Like, oh my god.
So the hunter is like, "You're coming with us, and this is your last chance." And Loki makes somewhat of an aggressive move, but they hit him with a time baton. Is the only way I can describe it.
Right.
That says it moves him at 1/16 the speed, but he's feeling the pain in real time.
That's just rude.
Right. And
I mean, the entire thing of that's just rude.
Right. Although that effect was great, because we've seen slow motion effect, but the fact that the rest of everything else was going at the right speed was just a nice effect. And during that time, they collar him with I'm just going to call it the time collar, because there's no word for it yet. The controller is the time twister, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But and then the TVA resets the timeline. So they have a little reset pod that
Which, when they activate it, it's got like little glowy stuff, and then it turned purple.
yeah.
Like I really know. I mean, I haven't read the comics on it, so I don't know. You might. I really want to know what that is because it looks like Power Cosmic.
Yeah.
The same stuff that basically Captain Marvel has.
I don't know that that's what it is, but it would be consistent with that. Because the way that these pods apparently work, the way that because we didn't actually see any of these pods working. We just
No,
saw
just that
the
one.
just the activation, which presumably rewinds to the point of entry
Right.
of where Loki shows up. So if it rewinds time, then that branch never happens, and the timeline is preserved, I guess. So they teleport out, and we go to the TVA headquarters, and we see Loki trying to run, and we finally see the actions of the time twister, the collar, the remote control collar, in action, and it is. I love this gadget, and it's just if he tries to run, well, they just click a button and it rewinds him to 2 seconds before he tried to run, or 2 seconds after he tried to run, which puts him right back in the same place.
I just want to use that for certain things.
Yes.
For science.
For science, yes, that's exactly what. So he gets thrown into an elevator, and we see a robot with a creepy pixelated face.
That was
And-
so good.
Yeah. And they're trying to disrobe him, and he said, "This is fine, Asgardian leather," and they just proceed to nuke it, like just completely disintegrate his armor.
Did you ever watch Doctor Who?
Yeah.
Yeah, the new stuff.
Yeah.
There's an episode with I don't remember where they are, but basically an episode where Captain Jack gets captured and they have to disrobe him. So it's basically the same thing, like the lasers like
Right.
cut everything off. But the difference there is that Jack is standing there like, ladies.
Right. Right.
So it just reminded me of that. I was like, huh.
Yeah, he's taking it in stride, and Loki is not. So then they drop Loki into a chute. Now here's the other thing that I saw a couple videos on, and it really made me think. Loki probably hates being dropped, like from anywhere. He
keeps falling in
keeps
places.
falling. so he's got to hate it. So they make him fall through a chute. He comes out the other side dressed in prison garb. So there's some technology happening there.
Yep. Little timey-wimey. Sorry.
and this is the first place where we have kind of the first real joke of the show, where he's standing in front of a clerk with a giant stack of paper, and the clerk says, "Please sign to verify this is everything you've ever said." And he goes, "What?"
Are you serious?
And then another printout comes out, and then he says something else, and another.
Oh, this is
printout-
ridiculous.
Right, another printout comes out, and before he says anything else, he just grabs the pen to sign it. And during that scene, though, if you look in the background, there's a clock that's got look to be like 8 hands on it.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, with just different and a lot more numbers is what it seemed to be as well. So, but time happens differently in the TVA. So I don't know. It's a nice little touch. So after he signs, they drop him in another chute.
At which point he actually like points upwards, like,
Right,
like I'm gonna get you.
I'm gonna get you. Right? Yeah. And all the while, all these workers are just going, "Oh God, yeah. Okay,
Another
fine,
one.
Just
There's another one.
Come on." So he falls into another chute again, and he's met with a dude that says, okay, he wants him to walk through what looks like a metal detector, but he says, "Please confirm you're not a robotic being."
Which this whole scene, like that could be like
great.
really simple, right? Like, yeah, of course I'm not a robot. But existential crisis Loki, I think is one of my favorites so far.
Yep. He's going, wait, what if I'm a robot and don't know it? How many people are like that? He goes, "What happens if I walk through this and I am a robot?" And he goes, "Oh, it'll melt you from the inside out."
And just standard procedure.
Right. Yeah, and that's the other thing is the guy that's manning this whole detector is just like going, "Ugh, can we just like get this over with? I got more stuff to do." And but he pauses before going through it, just going, "Okay," and walks through, and the machine takes a picture of his temporal aura. And he's like, "Well, what's that?" And he goes, "Just go." And
Go away. I
yeah,
don't have time to explain this to you.
right. I want to know what it is, but doesn't matter. Um, so he goes into another room, and that says that has a like a deli ticket machine on the front of it, and the guard there says, "Take a ticket." And the guy that's there before Loki, and it's only those two guys there. The guy that's before Loki says, "No, I'm not going to take a ticket." And he goes through the line, and Loki is looking around, and we start seeing these posters in the TVA, and one of them says, "Behave or you'll get your clock cleaned," and it's got Miss Minutes, like a mascot that we see throughout this whole show. And I can't read the others, but there were a couple other ones in there. But Loki ends up taking a ticket because the dude who said he wasn't going to take a ticket gets vaporized for not
Yeah,
having a
after
ticket.
he argues with the other guy saying, "I tried to take a ticket. He wouldn't give me a ticket." Like,
Right.
wow, okay.
Yep.
I can see why you're here. You're a jackass.
Right. So speaking of Miss Minutes, though, we start hearing her voice, and we see her up on a monitor, and I gotta tell you, so Miss Minutes is voiced by Tara Strong. I love Tara Strong.
Right.
I think she's amazing.
I recognized the voice when I heard it the first time I watched it.
Yep.
So I pulled up the list of what she does, and oh my god, she's got some good credits under her name.
So I was able to kind of interview her.
Oh wow.
So my first Dragon Con, I was moderating a voice actor panel, and she was on it. And so I'm sitting there just trying not to fanboy while I'm asking questions and moderating this panel. She was awesome. She was great. Um, so Miss Minutes, we see they actually don't make us watch this whole cartoon on the monitor. They flip it to full screen. So we see kind of the background of the TVA, talking about a vast multiversal war. There were many multiverses, or there was a multiverse at one point, and they were all kind of fighting for supremacy or to be the main timeline. It wasn't clear why they were fighting. But it nearly resulted in the destruction of everything, according to this video. And then the Timekeepers came to protect and preserve the sacred timeline. And the Timekeepers are these three beings, and they're celestial in origin, not from the Celestials, but that giant cosmic, like older than time being type beings. Their first appearance actually was in Thor 282, and their names are Ast, Vort, and Xanth. And
It's a terrible parenting.
yeah, no kidding.
Those are bad names.
Yep. So now in the comics, eventually they get annihilated by Kang.
Of course they do.
Yeah. So Kang the Conqueror, he's a time villain, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Who's supposedly going to be the next big bad for the next wave of MCU.
I will tell you, with the TVA and everything else, if they don't have Kang at least mentioned in this, I will be amazed.
Right.
And we'll get to that, but and I think they mentioned Kang was supposed to be in.
Yes, he's the villain for Ant-Man 3.
Yeah.
But he's supposed to be like kind of like, Thanos, overarching villain for the next phase of MCU.
That
at
would
least
make
from
sense.
The rumors.
That would make sense. And given the multiverse and given time travel, he'd be the natural on this. Like they could go the Immortus route, but even in some continuities, Immortus is Kang. Just, just
That's
you know,
not convoluted at all.
yeah. So,
Oh wait, it's Marvel. Of course,
yeah,
it's convoluted.
exactly.
The people
So,
that can keep the stuff straight is just like, oh my god,
yeah, it's
the
it's a little
brain power
crazy,
required for that.
right? Yeah, it's a little crazy. So, um, so they basically say in the back in the video they say people who veer off the sacred timeline paths are called variants, and kind of explain that a little bit, and then we get the time variance authority for all time, always,
Always.
which isn't creepy at all.
No, not even a little bit.
Now, here's the thing. At the bottom of that video, it says the TVA cartoon is produced by the Time Variance Authority Narrative Commission.
Okay.
And I'm going, what is that? That sounds very propaganda-y. Like,
Because it is.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so the whole thing with this, right? And it starts with Miss Minutes because you get that feel, they shoot over to the screen, the little monitor, and then just the entire feel of it is this 50s, 60s, 50s and 60s office setting,
Yep,
which what was it? The Academy, the Umbrella Academy
yep,
did the same thing for their time bureau,
yep,
50s or 60s office setting. The thing with the office setting for Vision, another 50s,
right.
every time there's a time travel thing, they seem to want to set it in like these 50s and 60s looking offices. And I don't know if that's like just because the aesthetic is there or just because it's hell.
Yeah, I'm not clear either. And what's weird is like even the technology that we see in the TVA is very, I was gonna say 70s, 80s, but I could go 60s, 70s easily,
Yeah,
and
I
everything's
think one
colored
of
in
one of the
that weird
computers.
burnt
Yeah, yeah.
orange.
The coloring is definitely a choice. One of the computers a friend of mine posted on Facebook, he recognized it as like a specific model
Yep,
of the station. I'm like, okay, that's a completely different level of geek.
yep,
Like
yep.
you recognize the workstation. Okay.
Yeah. So and yeah, we'll talk a little bit about a couple of the pieces of technology a little bit later too. So, but the okay, so yeah, so he gets done watching the cartoon, and this is when the dude without the ticket gets nuked, and Loki gets to the front of the line, and he's holding up his ticket. I got my ticket, and we see,
Anybody get a little bit of feel of Indiana Jones?
yeah, no kidding, and then we
No ticket.
and then we see the Loki title. That's when we get the Loki title. This is about 15 minutes in, or so.
Right.
So all right, cool. The Loki title happens. It's pretty uneventful, just what we've all seen, which is the Loki uh, letters all being kind of variations.
It's kind of cool though, because I think at least a few of those change into like Norse runes and back and forth.
I think
So
so too. Yeah,
yeah, the stuff they use for it is pretty cool.
right. So okay, then we open in France in 1549. In some I don't know how to pronounce this, Aix-en-Provence. Um, and the TVA is there with Mobius investigating something. And the Hunter and the Minutemen who went to investigate a variant got nuked while they were there. Somebody got the jump on them. And one of the Hunters who's with Mobius says it's him. They got consistent stab wounds. And I'm going, whoa, okay. So this is somebody, they've clearly been after somebody for a while who is taking out these Hunter teams. And they say it's the sixth attack in the last week, so it's happening a lot. And Mobius is looking around, and a little girl enters I guess it's a church where they are, is what it kind of looked
Mm,
like.
yeah,
And
it's
there's
1549 in France. Nothing else would have likely to have
stained
stained glass
glass, right?
windows.
So what was weird was we see this devilish figure in the stained glass. Like it's not the typical stained glass stuff that you would see, because it looks to be like a demon on a throne and just hanging out. And so this little kid enters the church, and Mobius is going to ask, what's going on, and asks, hey, did you see who did this? And she points to the stained glass. And then they show a good
The
picture
devil
of
did
the,
it.
yeah, and they show a good picture of the stained glass. But I wonder if that's telling us something more. And I'm not thinking Mephisto. But I'm just wondering if that's telling us something more. That's all. So, anyhow, he basically goes to tell the kid to go home and notices that her teeth are blue. And he's going, well, how did your teeth get blue? And she pulls out a pack of bubble gum, which I don't know if you're aware there, Sen, but bubble gum wasn't exactly a thing back in 1549.
Yeah, just slightly before its time.
In
So
fact,
if he didn't catch that, that's definitely a variant right there.
and in fact, the the packaging for the bubble gum wasn't a thing back in 1549. Um, so it turns out to be a pack of Kablooey blueberry bubble gum. Clearly not from 1549. Mobius takes it.
Clearly not from 2021 either.
Right. Mobius takes it, gives it to the hunter, and says, "Scan it for any time residue type stuff." And he goes, "We're not going to find anything, right?" He goes, "Yeah, scan it anyways. Who knows? We'll get lucky." And they pull out a PDA, and it says, "Hey, we got to go. Time branch red line is imminent." Now, I don't know what that actually means. If that means that the branch got so divided that they can't turn back.
I think it might be because they're trying to keep it from becoming permanent. I think the red line is maybe when it actually like clicks into permanence.
Right. So we take a look at that PDA, and it shows the timeline segment is listed as 616.432. And the only reason I even made note of that is 616 it could be referring to Earth 616, which is typically the Marvel Comics Earth.
Right. Well, and that actually makes sense because 616 is their prime Earth, so it's the prime timeline.
Yeah, so here's the weird part though. They've said that the Marvel Cinematic Universe is Earth 1999999 or something like that. So I don't know. So they go to set a reset charge, and another TVA member comes through a portal to see Mobius and hands him Loki's file. Apparently, because when they go to do these investigations, it's just a door down the hallway, and so anybody can pop in and just talk to anybody. It seemed very weird, but he hands him Loki's file, and we get a decent close up, and we see some information about Loki on there. They've listed him as variant L1130. Don't know that means anything. We see
Not really.
his race listed as Frost Giant, his
Yep.
height listed as 6'2". Cool. Sex listed as fluid, and I think that can be significant because I don't think
That is the first time MCU has confirmed uh Loki because they don't go into it. They
Right.
never go into it.
Right.
But that is a straight up confirmation for MCU. In the comics, everybody's known that for years because that's he's a shapeshifter and in folklore, hell, he took on the foreign shape of a mare to sleep with the giant's horse to
Right.
get the horse, so the giant couldn't build the wall, uh, which he still did. But yeah, it goes way, way, way far on that. But that is a confirmation for MCU, which is really cool. I like that they did that.
Well, and there were
It's
rumors,
kind of a big deal.
and there have been rumors that season 2 of Loki was going to be Lady Loki.
Right.
So that would make perfect sense if they're setting that up now. They show his birthplace as Jotunheim. This is all stuff we know already. They list him as his real name as Loki Laufeyson, alias Loki Odin's son, and alias God of Mischief, which I think is funny that they put that as an alias. But
Well, it's a legal alias, right? He goes by that.
right.
What if he gets mail for God of Mischief?
Right, right. um, and they show the charge, which is sequence violation, and the date appears to be July 20th, 1989.
Oh, that's weird. I
It
didn't
is,
notice that.
it is weird. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the significance is. I didn't have a chance to really look that up yet, but okay. So we flip back to the TVA, and Loki is brought to Time Court 37 because apparently they have a bunch of rooms.
Well, Night Court starts at 38, so you have to go to the Time Court.
You got to go to Time Court first. So he's in front of the judge, and the judge is like, "How do you plead?" And Loki does a Loki speech, which is like, "So guilty of ambition? Yeah, yes, and guilty, blah blah blah." And he ends up just pleading not guilty. He goes, "In fact, the Avengers should be blamed for this variant. They're the ones that lost the Tesseract." And the judge said what they did was supposed to happen. You escaping was not. I found that really interesting. What the Avengers did, because the Avengers went back in time to fix things, right?
Right.
And they're basically saying, yeah, they were supposed to do that. Okay.
So some time travel is allowed, but some time travel is not.
Right. So weird.
I'm with King on this. Let's blow this place up to and burn the whole thing to the ground.
Right. And so then Loki goes, "Okay, I've had enough of this." And he does his stance and tries to clench his fists to disappear, and nothing. And he's flexing.
A little bit of performance anxiety.
Yep. And he
Too
goes,
many
"Okay,
people watching.
everybody shut up." And he tries again, and they go, "Oh, magic? Yeah, that's no good here." So he becomes sentenced to be reset, which I'm guessing they probably just get rid of him because
Yeah, they
they took
delete him and the plot and the timeline continues as it should have.
Yeah, because they pull him out of time, right?
Yeah.
And he never got a chance because they already dealt with the dudes in the Gobi Desert, so he hasn't affected anything really. So they sentence him to be reset, and then Mobius steps in, and Mobius is Owen.
Owen Wilson.
Owen Wilson. Why I couldn't. I
Has,
can't remember.
has his nose gotten worse over years?
I think it has.
Okay.
Yes. So Mobius is talking to Loki in his office, and they pass by what we finally see is like the outside, I guess, for lack of a better term, of the TVA building that they're in. And it's huge. Like, it was expansive.
The place is massive and
very futuristic.
definitely very futuristic.
They do have a building out there that's got like a ticker going around the outside, like in Times Square, where you see the stock prices and stuff. And all it is it's keeping track of Nexus events. And Nexus events are the events that cause the TVA to get involved. I didn't see anything specific in that, but I saw the words Nexus events in there, so that was cool. They get into an elevator, and there's a whole bunch of floors, but they're all listed with these weird 3-letter indicators that I could not figure out.
Anybody else get anxiety just by looking at those buttons? Like,
Yeah.
oh my god, where the hell does this go?
And I like there's a side of me that I'm trying to fight right now. And that side of me is
You want to look up every one of those?
yeah, and because they look like they're codes. And it's like, well, maybe if I crack the code, I can figure it out. I'm really fighting that right now. But,
yeah, don't do that. That way lies madness.
right. So, but there's a whole bunch of 3-letter indicators: TSY, J3E, SYF, TE7, IUL, GYE. They make no sense. Like I can't.
Yeah.
Like I was hoping I could recognize one of them,
Well, obviously the SYF one takes you to the Sci-Fi Channel. They just sit there and
Right.
watch old shows.
And not even the good one. It's the Siffy
No,
version
not,
of.
no, it's the sci-fi version. Yeah.
So, all right. So they enter Time Theater 25, where you see a little electronic device, which is it has to be it. It looks like the old spherical 8-track tape players from the 70s,
Right.
and I believe it probably is that they've just retrofit. And what's weird about this whole thing is they're so futuristic, but and this is a hollow projector, so that Loki can review his life, and it's all on a film strip.
Yeah. What the hell is up with that?
It
Other
was
than the effect of the actual thing, like running out and
right.
splicing back up or whatever.
Yeah,
That was actually kind of cool. I like that.
it was weird. So we go to the table where the player is, and there's a couple of cans of Josta Cola on the table. And what I read was Josta Cola was a cola from like the 90s. I don't remember it at
I
all.
never heard of it.
Yeah. So Loki's sitting down. He's going, "Hey, what do you want from me?" And Mobius has questions. He goes, "Hey, should you return, what will you do?" And he goes, "Claim my throne." He goes, "Your throne?" He goes, "Yeah, King of Midgard." He goes, "Okay, so King of Earth." And then what? And then Asgard, and then the Nine Realms. He goes, "Okay, then what?"
In space.
And then space, King of Space. He goes, "King of Space." Well, he goes, "Why? What do you want? Why do you want to rule?" And Loki does his whole, like, the most oppressive lie in the world is the Song of Freedom, free will, free choice. And it does his whole speech about how it's a joke, and people always make bad choices. What they really want is comfort, and they want to be controlled. That kind of thing. And then
Yeah.
they show the scene of New York City, and we start going through Loki's history from the past movies. And and Owen Wilson, Mobius is really kind of pushing his buttons. He's going, for someone born to rule, you seem to lose a lot.
A lot.
Right. He goes, and didn't the Avengers come together to avenge Phil Coulson's death, which you caused? Now, the just as an aside for the Phil Coulson thing, what I've heard people online saying is that this scene is proof that the Agents of Shield version of Earth is not part of this, or not
Yeah.
canon. And I'm
So
going that
the shows and those shows are not considered they're considered MCU legacy and not
right.
MCU canon.
All I'm saying is this scene does not prove that. Like I know Marvel has said that. Marvel has
Right.
like come right out and said that. But this scene doesn't prove that. Like, that happened. And Phil Coulson, the only reason that he got out of that is because of the deal in, was it Haiti? Or
Yeah, yeah, the whole machine that basically brought him back.
yeah. And he was, given false memories to forget his death and that kind of thing. I mean, in the spirit of MCU, that all makes perfect sense. Like
Sure.
you could absolutely do that. They could have made him a life model decoy, which is what I thought they were going to do initially, and they didn't. But so whatever. I just, for the people online who are saying that this is proof that that Agents of Shield got retconned, I don't think that's this at all. I think it's just they just said,
It's not. It's just a scene.
yeah, it's just a scene, right? But
If
and
they wanted to make it canon, the next scene would have been, well, that didn't work, and show
right,
Coulson doing something.
right. Well, and that
But
would have
they're
made people
also,
flip out, because that would have
yeah,
validated Agents of Shield.
right. But they're also not like straight up going, well, he's dead. We're never seeing him again,
Right.
because whatever. They don't have to.
Right, exactly. And look, death in comics isn't a real thing, hardly ever. So
Even when you see the body.
even when you see the body, and even when they're gone for years, so all right, so they talk about he's the god of mischief. These things don't look mischievous, and they show a piece of his past that we've not seen before, and it shows Loki on an airplane in 1973, and apparently he was DB Cooper, which I just love that idea.
I honestly I don't know the reference.
Oh, okay. So DB Cooper in the 70s was this infamous hijacker because he supposedly stole all this money, jumped out of the airplane while it was in the air with the money,
It just disappeared.
and just disappeared. They found some
Okay.
money in Seattle in like a river, but
Okay.
not all of it. And nobody has seen him since. And
Okay.
nobody. There was no body. There was nothing. So it's a legendary thing.
I just didn't go back to like check on it because I knew think we're gonna talk about it.
Yeah,
It was, but it's such a good scene because it's like, you know, what's his name? The
Heimdall.
Watcher. Yeah, Heimdall. It's like,
Yeah.
Heimdall, you better be watching this. I'm like, oh, this is so good. He's just gonna jump right into the Bifrost.
What was funny is he jumps in the Bifrost, and the Bifrost did not take the money.
Not all of it. I'm pretty sure it took,
You think
because
it
we
took
don't
some
see
of
the
it?
bag. We don't see the bag. We
Oh,
see a
that's
bunch of
true.
money floating through there, but no bag.
Right,
So I'm
and
pretty sure like a chunk of it just got kind of like, pushed out of the bag or something.
that makes sense based on the legend of DB Cooper because
Right, that they found some
they
money.
found some of the money. Yeah, so I thought that was just a nice little touch, and it makes as much sense as DB Cooper not being found. So,
And it makes sense that he lost the bet to Thor.
yep, yep. So the he asks about that, and he asked about that to Mobius. Why didn't you stop that? He goes, well, apparently it was supposed to be part of the timeline.
We were there,
So,
right there with you.
right. And Mobius clearly just kind of wants to understand Loki and his motivations, and Loki doesn't want to play. He doesn't want to talk with him about that. And we start talking about Loki saying, "Look, this TVA thing and this sacred timeline." He goes, "No, I make my own choices. I have my own free will." And according to the TVA, you don't. Like, we knew you were going to say that kind of thing.
Well, they have a printout of it now
Right,
too.
right. Now they have a printout, right? And he basically goes, "Look, if you hadn't picked up the Tesseract, that wasn't your future. You weren't supposed to pick up the Tesseract. You would have gone on to a cell on Asgard, and then we start seeing Loki's future." Because I had to remember that
Yeah.
now this stuff where Loki in the future, and it was from Ragnarok, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it Ragnarok? No, I think
There
it
were
was.
certainly some scenes from Ragnarok because Thor had the patch.
Yes, but that's later.
Yeah,
The scene with Freya.
with Freya dying.
I Yeah, I don't think that's from Ragnarok. I
I didn't
think
think.
that's earlier.
When would it have
That
been though?
that's from the
Dark World.
second one. Yeah, that's from Dark World.
Okay, so we're all right because Loki in handcuffs was
Yeah.
from that Avengers movie, not just Endgame with the time travel. Uh,
Yeah.
so yeah, and so what he's showing Loki now is stuff that's happened since Dark World, or before Dark World, since that Avengers movie.
Yeah, he
And
basically shows him chunks of his timeline after the first Avengers movie.
because this Loki hasn't lived those yet.
Yep. Like,
So
and of course it's like if you see it and like, wait, this is not real, this has not happened.
right, exactly. So he shows Loki, Freya dying, because of the choices that Loki made, to give directions, and he let's see, so then we find out the time control device is called a time twister, and Hunter comes in while this conversation is happening and says, "Hey, we have a situation." Um, Mobius goes out to the hallway, and Loki apparently had palmed the Time Twister controller.
It was a quick little
It was.
pickpocket too,
It was. Well,
because
but
like
he's
on a second viewing, you can see where he jumps to, you know, he
really,
goes for
really close
that.
to his side. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it
Uh,
is a really quick lift.
yep. Yep. But he's that guy. He could do that.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so apparently they lost another Hunter unit. And Mobius goes back to find Loki and realizes that, oh boy, his controller was lifted. And so Loki is now walking around the TVA. And
That's a recipe for disaster.
yeah, so he goes into an office. There's more posters that you see all over the place. One of them says, "A tidy cubicle is a healthy timeline." He meets up with Casey, who is that dude that was at the TVA intake, where Loki was saying, "Be careful with that when he gets
Yeah,
the
when they
Tesseract."
impounded the Tesseract.
And and Loki goes, "Hey, give me the Tesseract or I'll gut you like a fish." He
What's a
goes,
fish?
"What's a fish?" He goes, "Look, my life is here. I don't do anything." And he goes, "Well, okay, whatever." And he goes, "I'll kill you." And he goes, "Okay, okay, okay." And then he opens up a drawer. He opens up a drawer to give Loki the Tesseract, but then Loki sees the drawer is filled with a dozen or so Infinity Stones.
And all the different ones too.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
like the big orange one, and oh, this is my favorite scene of the episode, because the look of realization on his face as he's like, these are the most powerful things in his universe, right?
right. And
Things that are been around before the universe, and over here's like, a dozen of them in all varieties, and
and
they
here
don't
they mean
work.
nothing. Here they mean
Yeah,
absolutely nothing.
and these
Yeah.
guys are using them as paperweights.
So also in that drawer though, we see a Honus Wagner baseball card, which is like one of the most valuable cards ever.
Yeah,
We
it is
see,
it is not like one of the most. It is the most valuable
yeah,
baseball card ever.
we see some sort of French Medal of Valor, a cross of some sort. There's just a bunch of just miscellaneous things in that drawer. Um, and the dude is going, "Yeah, we get a lot of those stones. Some of the guys use them as paperweights." What's weird about that is he says some of the guys use them as paperweights. Some of them.
Someone, yeah, it
And
was like, what's up with that?
what's that mean, right? So actually, there is one Infinity Stone we do not see in that pile, and that's the Mind Stone.
Oh, really?
The yellow one is not there. Um,
Okay.
Now, as kind of a flash forward, we see the Mind Stone being used as a paperweight in the credits.
Oh,
But
okay, okay. I missed that part.
but it's not in the drawer. So, and so yeah, they all appear to be inert. Obviously, they're not doing anything. This Hunter B-15 realizes Loki's gone and just wants to prune Loki and just get rid of him. And Mobius is going, "No pruning allowed. Just we just got to find him." And he goes back to the Time Theater. And Loki starts watching the video of his life again. Goes back to the Freya dying scene. Actually, appears to feel remorse, like he's tearing up and whatnot.
So if you look at, if you know the Norse mythology or anything, he's never on the side of the giants. Like in mythology, Loki's never on the side of the giants.
Right,
He's always on the side of Asgard, even when he's screwing shit up
right,
until way later. But stuff happens to cause that.
right,
Um, he the whole scene is that he misdirects the um the elves, the dark elves, or
yeah,
it's not the dark elves, it's whatever. He misdirects them, tells them to take a left instead of going right, because he's sending them to Thor.
right,
Now, Morbius makes it sound like, you know, it might be because he wants to get Thor killed, That's not gonna happen. Thor is going to kill whatever the stuff that's coming in, right?
Right.
So he's misdirecting them, knowing that if they run into Thor, they're gonna kill him.
Right.
I mean, Thor's gonna kill them.
Right.
So that whole, feeling remorse for Freya dying, that's just straight canon. That's fully character. That's not just like, oh, I'm really sorry because it's his mom technically, right? Not in not in Norse mythology, but in the MCU, it's his mom. Um, so yeah, he feels remorse for that, but it goes back to wrong choices being made.
Right.
The whole free will thing and wrong choices. That's a wrong choice because he's deliberately misguiding the frost giants because he knows they're gonna die to Thor, but it's a screw up.
Right. Yeah, it's but it was good to see him actually have feelings, right? I mean,
Yeah.
so and then he see what was interesting too is he's viewing his future that hasn't happened to him yet, right? So he sees Odin saying that I love you, my sons, and which gives Loki that feeling that Odin did feel like he was his son because that was always a bone of contention as well
Right.
with him, and shows Loki and Thor fighting side by side during Ragnarok, which is what Thor always wanted, and then shows Loki trying to kill Thanos, and sees Thanos kill him.
And you actually hear
You hear the
they cut
crunch.
away. They don't show it,
Yeah.
but you hear the crunch.
Yeah, and Loki
I am
genuinely
surprised
shocked.
I am surprised that they didn't do the line
Yeah,
because they didn't do the whole there will be no resurrections today.
right. That's true. Yeah. I am surprised they didn't do that too. In hindsight, and then they show Thor grieving over him, and then we get a close up of the film from this holo projector running out, and of course I freeze framed it. And on the end, it's written Loki, Laufeyson, and T-ETH, which could be Earth, dash 616
Yep.
as the file name. So I don't know. I think it could be the 616 stuff is just like an Easter egg for us to find, or it could be that they're actually kind of cataloging these specific universes, I guess. Even though they're trying to avoid a multiverse, I'm still not sure how that's all working. But and it
Yeah,
says
this is gonna be interesting the way they resolve it since we know we're going into the multiverse.
right. So it says end of file on the screen, and Loki starts chuckling, and Hunter B-15 comes in and with her nuke stick, basically, and goes to attack Loki, but Loki gets the best of her, is able to take the collar off himself and put it on her, and then uses the time twister to mess with her, just like
That
completely
was
just
fun.
and she's going stop it, and he's just like reversing her and making her just it was just brutal, and then she ends up in another room. Casey is in the hall when that hunter finally shows up. We see another poster that says Nexus events must be pruned. Mobius goes back to the time theater, and Loki's just hanging there. And Mobius says, look, I need your help. We got to hunt down a variant. And Loki's like, why me? And he goes, well, the variant we're hunting is you. And I'm
Dun
like,
dun dun.
oh, man. Okay. Because I really was hoping they were going to say Kang or something like that. But it was too early. It's too early for that.
Yeah.
So, okay. So we're going to hunt another variant Loki. Okay. Fine. So we flip to Salina, Oklahoma in 1858. Not sure why.
Yeah. So this caused some stirred up some troubles. I don't know to what degree. I've seen it on my timeline a couple of times. Salina, Oklahoma in 1858 it wasn't Oklahoma yet. It was Indian territory. So they could have just said, I don't remember the tribe, which tribe the area was for. They could have
Oh,
just said it
okay.
was for that tribe instead of saying that it's Salina, Oklahoma.
Oh, right. Okay.
Hmm.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I didn't as well until a couple of people were like, "Hey," but and a couple of people from Oklahoma were like, "Yeah, that's a screw up," and like, okay, that actually is they could have just said this.
Yeah, that is. I'm just I'm looking just in Wikipedia right now, uh, and I'm just seeing like when was Oklahoma even settled, and let's see, or not settled, but became a state, really, and I don't see it. Um, but I do know. So that was probably Cherokee Nation at the time.
Oklahoma statehood year is November 16th, 1907.
Okay. Yeah. So I wonder though. Okay. Well, whatever. We can figure that out. So yeah, that was. I would agree that's a mistake.
Yeah,
Right. They should have been named. If it was Cherokee, then they should have said it was Cherokee Nation 1858 or something like that. They probably did it for geographical reasons because it's easier to know, like, to visualize where it is. But it's a mistake. You just name it for what it actually
yeah.
is. So, um, okay. So the TVA shows up and basically finds an artifact, and they say it's from the third millennium. And they have one of those PDAs open again after scanning this glowing staff, is what it kind of looks like, that's sticking out of the ground. Um,
Right.
and the PDA says it's a quantum something. I couldn't read the rest of it, somebody with a higher def TV may have been able to read it, but it says it's a quantum something from the third millennium. Um, and while they're looking at it, they see a hooded figure, and they're saying, "Okay, hit the reset, and we'll take care of this." And they see a hooded figure, and they go to get him, and the figure drops a lantern and burns them all because he's set up he or she has set up oil all around that area.
So
And
apparently, what the minimum said was that it's anachronistic, so it's out of time and place.
right, yeah,
Early third millennial.
early third millennium, which is what I said. And yeah, it's
Right.
just, but they didn't, you didn't find a name for it, right? Because in that
Not for the
scene,
staff.
yeah, in the scene, it was called a quantum something. I just don't
Oh, okay,
know.
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
I don't know what it actually said after that. I couldn't read it, but so the hooded figure drops fire, burns them all, picks up the reset pod, and we go to credits. I will tell you, going through these credits was a pain in the butt because a lot of quick scene flips. I'm sure I didn't catch everything, but here we go. We see Loki's file, and there's a lot of redactions on it. I couldn't read a lot of it. A lot of it didn't make sense. We see some information a little bit later, but we got that. We flip to a scene that says coffee, fresh 800 BC. It's just a coffee pot. So we see another poster that says hunters and analysts working in tandem. We see figure R variants and Schrodinger's equation underneath it. And Schrodinger is the one that has a cat is in a box, and
Right.
before you open the box, the cat is both living and dead. It's that whole, like, honestly variant type science, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so typewriter is there. There's something on the typewriter that says the branch was pruned. So somebody's typing up a report, it looks like. We see a picture of the TVA chrono monitoring handbook, complete with a coffee stain on the front of it. We see variant case file for Loki. We see a TVA archive apocalyptic event report, which I can only make out a little bit of things, but the charge was failure to intervene in dire circumstances.
Huh.
Yeah. We see a check register from 1973 with regular $200 deposits. My guess is that's supposed to be DB Cooper's checkbook,
Right.
because the timing works correct. Um, we see also we see a description of a Mobius strip. I don't know why, but just cause. And the Mobius strip was, the Mobius ring, right, where you twist the paper and two ends come together, and you draw a
Right.
line from one side, and it ends up being on both sides. And that's how Tony figured out that the time travel thing was possible, like by forming a Mobius strip. So, in Endgame. So, let's see. We get a close up of Kablooey bubblegum, and on the Kablooey bubblegum wrapper there's the Kablooey, and it says the flavor is blueberry, and then on the right hand side of the package there's a picture, like it's just somebody's head, and it's presumably just a mascot for a Kablooey or whatever, but it kind of looks like Nightmare from the Marvel comics.
Oh, okay. Well, and he's supposed to be in multiple in multiverse.
Right. So that
So
well,
yeah.
and honestly, earlier in the episode, while they're walking down the hallway, Loki and Mobius are talking, and Loki says, "This is a nightmare." He goes, "Nope, that's another department, and if you want to take
And
them
I'll
down,
help
I
you.
got
I'll
no
help you
problem."
burn that one down.
Right, right. So, let's see. We get to another TVA poster that is attached to a locker, and it says "Always Watching." Probably the creepiest one that we've seen so far. We see a scene with a bunch of Infinity Stones lying around, including one being used as a paperweight. And then another apocalyptic event report that says Class 3 airplane hijacking, inciting a riot, bomb threat, 1973. It's clearly a report on the DB Cooper thing.
Yeah, DB Cooper.
A bunch of pictures of Loki lying on a desk, and a close-up of a document that says, "So you're a variant," and and just kind of like here's a handbook to being a variant, I guess. I don't know. Also, there's a Awake magazine on a desk, and I didn't look it up yet, but I wonder if Wake magazine, because it looks like it's like a surfing magazine, and I don't know. If it was something else, but I don't even know why it would be there. It seemed to make no sense. So
They're just putting stuff in.
yeah, and then that's kind of it. That's kind of it. So and then we go to the regular credits. Now, here's something that comes up in the regular credits. The judge in the TVA where she was asking Loki to plead guilty or not guilty.
Right.
The judge is Ravonna Renslayer. She's named in the credits.
Okay.
Ravonna Renslayer is Kang's lover in the
Oh,
comics.
Jesus. Oh, no. Oh, this is gonna cause problems because when Morbius comes up to her, he's like, "It feels like I'm always looking up to you," and you definitely get a vibe of like, "Are those two? Is that are they a thing, or what's going on over here?" At least I
Yeah.
got a vibe from off of them.
Yeah.
Um. Oh no. Okay.
Yep. So, I can't imagine they're only just gonna have her there as like an Easter egg.
No, I highly doubt that.
And so yeah, so when I saw her name in the credits, because they didn't call her that in the show at all.
No. Well, they don't mention her name at all.
Right. But in the credits she's listed, and I went, oh wait, I know that name. Oh no. So that's another reason why I think we're gonna probably at least get a hint of Kang. I hope. You know,
Right. So something happens to her, and her husband comes back to kill everybody.
or maybe something happens to her and Kang rescues her.
Maybe.
You know, that kind of thing. I mean, who knows? But I really hope that we go down the Kang path. Now, I will tell you, I'm a little gun shy right now because every time now I've thought that more things were going to happen,
Right. Right.
nothing happens. It happened with WandaVision. It happened with Winter Soldier. I was convinced that
Yeah.
Sharon.
The first thing when they were in church, I went, "Oh no, here comes the Mephisto stuff
Yeah,
again."
yeah. Well, and yeah, and I was convinced we were going to see Mephisto in WandaVision. I was convinced we were going to see Doctor Strange in WandaVision. And I
Well,
understand
we
why.
were
Yeah,
supposed to. Yeah.
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 And then in Falcon and Winter Soldier, I was convinced that Sharon was not going to be the power broker. Um,
I'll be honest. I didn't see that one coming.
yeah, yeah. Well, it seemed too obvious early on, and then it was like, okay, fine. But so I don't know. I'm hesitant to make more predictions, but I'm going to end up doing it anyway because it's fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that is pretty much the end. Except at the very end of the credits, we hear Miss Minutes being all creepy. Um, so that the weird 60s 70s aesthetic is just out of all the time in the world. It's just a weird choice.
Right, and they use it for all the time travel stuff all the time. I don't know why.
Yeah. Well, I think it's back. Remember? Well, you don't remember. I don't remember either. But back in the 50s and 60s is when the space race started, and so there was a lot of that futuristic stuff happening.
Sure, but if you're a time agency, something like this, where you have access to all technology ever,
Yep.
why would you trap yourself in with these monitors and stuff? It just, I don't get it.
I don't understand
And,
that part of it. The
and like
actual
they don't,
technology.
they're not the only, yeah, they're not the only ones that do that. Like
Right.
their technology is futuristic, but they make it fit into the 50s, 60s, 70s stuff. But
Right.
like they do that, and Umbrella Academy, and all these places all the time when they do future travel stuff, they just do that. I'm like, that's just so weird.
Well, and that dude that was making Loki sign the papers of everything he ever said.
Right.
He had a tiny monitor, and actually, here's another thing: on the monitor, he's playing solitaire. But the monitor was like a 5-inch, 6-inch monitor. It was tiny, and it was like the old orange monochrome monitors.
Right.
So, but I'm going. Wait, this is the TVA. Why doesn't he have like a holographic monitor in front of him, or
Right.
or a giant monitor?
I mean, I'm pretty sure I'll have a holographic monitor in like 10 years or something. Why doesn't he?
Right, right. So
I
okay,
guess it's not in the budget.
not in the budget. All right. So overall, what were your thoughts?
I think it was really good. Like I wanted to watch it a second time.
Yeah, me too.
So I very much enjoyed it. Hindelson's is freaking fantastic. Just that whole scene of just him realizing that yes, these things are completely pointless here, and I'm screwed. Just the look on his face for that entire scene was just so good.
Well, but also him realizing that the TVA may be the most powerful place in the universe.
Right. This is the greatest power
Because
in the world.
well, and so he had that glint in his eye that was like, how can I be in charge of this?
Yep. Let's take over the let's take over the entire place.
Which I think is his real motivation at this point.
Yes. Yes.
So we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of people having complaints that this started too slowly.
Oh, whatever.
I agree. I agree. I think that you had to give that background to give Loki's character more meaning. Um, there was some concern that this kind of breaks all the time travel stuff, and it doesn't. It just doesn't, because it's not really about time travel.
Yeah,
It's
he's not
about
part of the timeline. He's removed from the timeline.
right. And so if the Avengers time travel didn't break the sacred timeline, if it was still part of the timeline, nobody said you couldn't go back and forth on the timeline. It just said you can't branch off.
Yeah, and
And
that's the whole thing with the uh when Banner's talking with the Ancient,
yes,
because
right.
she's like, well, it causes a branch over here and this. So he's like, well, what if we return the stones? Like, okay, so they're basically pruning their own timeline. They're making sure it doesn't happen.
So I do have a question about that though. And that is, there's still a question of the Steve Rogers end of things.
Yeah, yeah. Steve
You
Rogers is
know,
a little weird.
so the question is, did he cause a branch, or was he always supposed to go back and live out the rest of his life?
I think he was always supposed to go out and go back and live out the rest of his life.
That's
He also could have just lived it out in a different timeline and then came back and pruned it. And since they know that's going to happen, they allow him to make it and let it
right,
happen.
because that's really the only explanation, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that he was supposed to go back and live out the rest of his life in the same timeline, because he didn't exist at that time in the timeline originally.
Right.
So,
Well, and we
well, he
know
did. He actually
that
did.
yeah.
He did because he
We
was
know that
frozen.
Sharon had two children. She does mention that in when he's with her at the hospital.
Yep.
She had two kids, so it's like, well, we know he came back and they had two kids together. So there's like two kids with Steve Rogers DNA running around MCU somewhere.
Oh boy. Okay. Well, who knows? Maybe they'll explain it.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. I would
They
like
probably
that.
won't, but maybe they will. All right. So I think that'll do it for this episode. I think this episode went a little long, but it was going to. It's the first episode of a new series. I mean, there was, and we had to go through the credits. So,
Yeah.
all right, cool. And for people who are listening, we are definitely going to be keeping to the Saturday release of these things. We were going to do Wednesday nights, and it just isn't possible with our current schedules. So,
Well, even without our current schedule, doing this on the day of release, I want to watch it twice, like before.
yeah, yeah,
There's no way. Like, I don't know if I can watch it on. Sometimes I just don't get to watch it till like Friday or something. So
right,
doing
right,
it on the same day is rough.
yeah. So it'll be Saturday mornings. Sen, where can they find you?
You can find me every morning on twitch.tv/sunraven around 8:30 a.m. Pacific time on the weekdays for some Marvel Strike Force streaming, and trying to do some other stuff. We're doing some sponsored streams this weekend and over the next couple of weeks for Stream Raiders. So we'll do some Stream Raiders and Marvels on stream and Marvel Strike Force and maybe a little bit of Smite. A little bit of everything.
Cool. And I can be found all over the place at VO by Kurt on Thursday evenings with Sen and Charles McFall doing the From the Helicarrier podcast, and right here on This Week in MCU. You can follow us on twitch.tv/VO by Kurt and subscribe to the podcast by going to anchor.fm/this-week-in-MCU. You can find This Week in MCU at all of your podcatchers. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts, please leave us a 5-star review, and we will mention you on the next episode. If you have any suggestions, comments, questions, speculation on episodes, please send an email to thisweekinmcu@gmail.com. And with that, we will see you all next week.
Where's my glorious purpose? Bye.
Perfect. Okay. I stopped recording. We're still streaming. I just wanted to say hi to the folks in the chat room. And let's see. Who do we got? We got Academy Impossible, Apostolic Pants, Sea Freeze, Commander Rootbot, Siestrion, and Tightwads. Hey guys. How's everything going?
Mute button off, I hope. Yes, the mute button was off. Damn it, Freeze.
Oh boy.
Oh,
Yeah.
we actually test for that now.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. Okay, I actually just turned up the audio in the stream just to verify that. Okay,
Oh, God.
turned up the audio.
Well, now you got me paranoid.
I know.
Oh.
So, thank you guys for hanging out. If you want to know when we're streaming again, go ahead and click the follow button if you haven't already. And most of you have. I know you have. And we will see you guys next week. Have a good weekend.